You guys know Vikas. I'm saying it right.
Yeah, Vikas.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, you said
Vikas.
Vikas.
Yeah.
Say it. I'll work on it. Vikas. He's a genius. Okay, I'm just going to say it. Where did you work? Where were you before this?
I've spent some time working at companies like Amazon and at Google.
Yeah, I've heard of Google, yes. And so anyway, smart folks, this came out last year, won a Cappy last year, and I just got a preview of what you've been working on, and we had a great conversation. So what's new?
Yeah, so for us, to quick background about us, we're a fairly young company, founded the company about 4 years ago. As Juan mentioned, we don't come from a traditional toy space or robots. We founded the company seeing our own children growing up in the world that we live in today, where technology is evolving at a very, very rapid pace. And in this, what's often called the information age, the skills that our children need are going to be a very new set of skills that they may not have as much acquired them in the last century. So in that information age, how do we help every child to be a capable citizen? And a large part of that starts with how every child will learn to code, because that gives them a way to deconstruct the world around them, to really make sense of the world they're growing up in. And that's the mission we are on. And so we started the company 4 years ago with that mission. We didn't know what the manifestation of that would be, but turned out to be the right manifestation was to bring it in the form of a robot that can be programmed using a touch device that everyone has.
There it is.
And since then, we've grown significantly. Last year, we started selling the product in 2015, sorry. And we grew both in consumer and education, but I think the big something we take really a lot of heart from is schools have adopted it in a way that we hadn't even anticipated. We thought the schools is going to be a very tough market to break into, but we grew from 0 to 1,500 schools in 2015, and from that we've grown 6x to 10,000 schools around the world in 2016. So it's a product we've seen very rarely in this space where it succeeds equally well in both schools and in the consumer side.
So I think there's a takeaway here for all of us, and that is don't forget about the school market. And there's a whole different set of rules, and from the way money, they use purchase orders still, and the way you speak to a teacher and an educator is very different. And sometimes, as the old software program Carmen Sandiego learned, teachers, it can kind of go viral in the schools, and that's how things like Oregon Trail came to be, and you guys discovered that. The other one is libraries. Libraries are increasingly using technology. We have one of these in our public library, and it's great. So don't forget about these audiences, because there's money there.
And for us, it isn't a matter of just simply making a bunch of robots and selling them and being done with it. We see, for example, customers using a product. 40% of our customers who buy a product are still using them a year later, which to us was a huge surprise. We hadn't expected that kind of a retention. So one of the things we've invested a lot in is how to bring that community together. So we host a robotics competition using our robots. So this year, last year, our second competition brought 20,000 children together from 57 different countries. And it is, I can't tell you how inspiring it is to see children spending 20 plus hours a week programming a robot. That's half a job. And to see that happen at an age of 6 to 12, which is the age range we focus on, has been probably one of the biggest achievements for us in the last 4 years. And as a platform, there's a lot of tech that goes into it that it doesn't really get talked about as much, especially when we present it to a customer. Over the last 2 years, we pushed over 100 updates out to the robots, through the apps. We pushed new software, new apps to the customers, new content in the apps. There's a whole bunch of learning content that goes into it that we designed using the teachers' help, very curriculum-based as well. So children could actually do this all on their own. And we get them to a point where, we'll give you one example where when we first started building the robots, at the age range of 7 or 8, we found some concepts are very, very hard for them to learn. An example, for example, something called variables is very hard for children to learn. So we broke our heads a lot on how do we introduce that. But then over time, we figured out how to sequence the right content and right way to introduce those concepts to kids. And now we see children not only learning them, but using them very effectively in what they do.
Cool. And if you can play more with Dash and Dot.
Dash, yeah.
This is Dash. downstairs, and you really do need to get your hands on it, so I encourage you to that. Let's talk about go to WowWee, and if we do this right, we can get some time to play and put the document camera on.
Whenever you're done, I can do the demo.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Do you want to do it? Should we do it now, or
Up
should
to
we?
you.
Let's do the talking and then we'll do the playing. That'll be our reward for getting through these things. Do you want?
Sure. So I'm Davin Sufer. I'm here with a few robots. A lot of very similar themes and similar goals. That's what you're hearing up here. We're a little bit different in the sense that we make a lot of robots and we kind of play more to the entertainment side of things, but in the last few years we've put a lot of effort into building, and we've always had this in our products, some coding aspect. So that would have started with many years ago an SDK or a protocol that we would make available to the community at large, and we'd see a lot of people kind of hacking and playing with our robots. This happened as long ago as maybe 11, 12 years ago with RoboSapien, which was one of our more famous robots, and we were blown away by what people were doing and posting online and videos that we would see, like RoboSapiens that had been modified, and we kind of took that in internally, and we made sure that all our circuit boards are kind of clearly marked inside, and we mark off the communication ports and how to activate the motors. So there's like this kind of hidden aspect of our products that they're kind of easy to modify and hack. But that still requires a fair bit of knowledge. You have to get a screwdriver, you have to open the thing up, you have to know a little bit about electronics, there's some soldering involved. It's still a very niche thing. In recent years, there's been a huge push, as we all know, towards kids coding and the STEM approach, and we've taken that into our products. So starting from even our product MIP that we did a few years ago, we've expanded that to have some coding aspects. Am I going the wrong way? Yes. And that went right away to a coding platform on a robot called CoderMIP. So what we've done really is taken a lot of kind of popular robots that we've released in the past and that we're continuing to release, and adding coding to those products. These are products that typically have install bases upwards of 100,000 units, and kind of putting our coding aspect into that gets us a user base that is having fun with our products and already engaged with the product, and then we can expand on that. Last year we launched a product called Koji. This is for much younger kids, so this isn't really about dragging and dropping blocks anymore. This is about sending emojis to your robot, almost like you're texting your robot some emojis. We noticed that very young kids were able to send messages to grandparents and understood what the emotions attached to and the animations attached to an emoji were. And we thought, what if we could empower a kid to control a robot using that language at a very young age? And then what if we could teach them a little bit about making little sequences and solving a problem and getting through a maze using a sequence of emojis. And we built Koji. We shipped out last year, and we've seen a very good uptake over the Christmas holiday. So we're very happy about that. And we also thought, how can we expand on that? What character is really recognizable and interesting and kind of a household name for young kids? And that's why we created Elmo G, which is basically...
I'm going to switch the mic at this thing.
Builds off the platform that we created with Koji, and it should turn on right now. Should turn on. And Elmo lives in Koji, so I'm not sure, maybe this was not batteried or something. I'm sorry about that. Dave, do you have another? Okay. All right, sorry.
That's okay.
He's not waking up, so his batteries are low.
Do you do a good Elmo imitation?
No, I don't.
This could get some major...
I will not subject you to that. But we've created this with in partnership with Sesame Street Workshop, and we're building out all the content, all the games, the mazes, the problem solving with Elmo, as well as teaching kids about shapes and patterns.
So the idea is that you can pretty much, this is a platform, and you could put any licensed character or content in there.
Right, and the challenge in the space is getting this into people's hands, right? And that becomes more of a kind of a marketing and a retail strategy and how you get your product to market. And recognizable characters we're finding are getting a lot more uptake, and there's a lot more, that initial boundary, cross-initial boundary to get people to know about the product is a little bit easier. However, you still have to go in very deep on the content side and really generate some really fun visuals and games. So I really have to get that guy powered on to make this work.
Okay.
But there's a lot of visuals around solving problems, shapes, mazes. The really fun thing about this is that since it's a level-based platform, we're able to see in our analytics how far people are getting with Koji and how deep they're getting into the gameplay and how far people are going and where they get stuck.
I think we're getting a message here about talking same pedagogy, but there's an important point to this, and that is you can put any educational philosophy or pedagogy inside these. These are teaching styles, and you can decide, I mean, you can kind of tell which one of these guys would you want to spend the afternoon with your kid with, or which one of these products. And I think the answer is both, because it'd be a blast. But you know, this has a very constructivist kind of underlying agenda. And I think that Seymour Papert would probably really appreciate the work that you've done, because you've given the child the control, as with the dinosaur we saw, Stumpy. You know, and the child has empowerment. You can put flashcards in this, and you can bring licensed characters into your child's life. And so these really are the software. This is, you know, it's no longer the app. What a cool visual that is. So you've also got those.
Yes, those are chippies. So another product we launched last year was Chip. It's a home robot that very intelligent, has sensors, can chase this ball, can bring it back to you, has a smart
You have a
band.
chip?
We didn't bring a chip. We don't want
Guys, this is kids at play. Bring stuff to put on this table. All right. Visuals. We have camera, a real high-tech camera.
I'll give you a few
with a
visuals.
Phone.
I'll give you a few visuals.
Visuals, man.
So here's a chippy. Chippies, we found what kind of a few of the salient, really fun aspects of Chip were.
I'm sorry.
And we made a little mini version of Chip that does a few of those things. So one really popular move that Chip has is his yoga move. So I'll see if I can get this this robot to do a little dance for you. All our products have a lot of sensors. So motion sensors, little guard modes, another feature that was very popular with Chip. Here we go. Get the. So you can sense obstacles. See, they can drive around. They can see things, and they can react when things happen.
So again, Moore's law: more products, lower price, and doing more.
Yeah, I think the sensors, what came up earlier in the other panel, all these sensors getting a lot better and cheaper has been a huge boon to these products. Connectivity with apps has become very low cost. A lot easier.
Bluetooth.
With Bluetooth, and the fact that there's a lot of there's a lot of screen time, and we're trying to bring a tactile side to that too.
Vikas, so we were pairing this. I threw a curve at you yesterday in the booth, and I said, you know, I want to see some, and like you paired it really quickly, and I think people forget how important the actual, like, get it started out of the box experience is. Is there a technology besides like Bluetooth or whatever that's really exciting to you guys right now, like motors or LEDs or sensors?
So things that I can talk about that I think for us the connectivity is definitely one aspect we look at. I would say Wi-Fi in general, it's not a new technology per se, but I think Wi-Fi, which we haven't put in a robot so far, is interesting because I think given, you know, in this conference, for example, we see so much of this Amazon Alexa and we see how kids are using these products. And for us to be able to, so here's what we did with Bluetooth. You know, 4 years ago when we launched this product, or we announced the product, we started the company 4 years ago, we announced the product 3 years ago. At that time, Bluetooth LE was the, we used Bluetooth LE or smart Bluetooth. At that point, there were very few devices that were actually using Bluetooth LE. The reason we used Bluetooth LE was because it allows us to create a really, really seamless connection experience within the app. And so we see that, and we could use that to leverage the brains of the phone or the device in children's hand and really leverage that to drive down the cost of the robot itself and still create a very compelling product.
Do these guys talk to each other by any chance?
I wouldn't be surprised if there's some stray infrared communication happening here.
Keep your infrared to yourself.
So, and I think what we see with Wi-Fi is that just like we could use Bluetooth to leverage the brains of the iPhone or the devices, you can use Wi-Fi to now leverage a lot of stuff that lives in the cloud and do it directly on the robot. So that's, I would say, is one aspect that my guess is over the next few years, we'll see a lot more products putting Wi-Fi in, largely because people like Amazon and Microsoft and Google are creating platforms to really leverage, and IBM, as we saw a little while ago, and Cognitus is actually a good example of that, how that Wi-Fi in a product could create a very compelling product without putting a lot of computation or a lot of complexity on the product itself.
Is that expensive?
No, I mean, it is definitely more expensive than Bluetooth. But I don't think you're not talking about, significantly more expense.
It's getting a lot better. And one other more subtle aspect is that the pairing process, if you want to call it that, for BLE to really take off, it left that settings menu where you have to go into settings and pair and wait for it to pair and then disconnect and reconnect.
Right.
And now it's in the app, and it's much, much easier. When Wi-Fi gets that kind of pairing capability, and it's coming, like there's a lot of different ways now. How do you get the home, the passphrase for the home's router is the key problem, and then getting through the firewalls. Once that's all sorted and it's getting pretty close, that's going to really take away a lot of the friction that we see, and that people get frustrated with these products because they're so hard to connect, and they don't connect, they disconnect, and there's all these problems around it.
You know, you guys are both, they may not look like it, but they're both app developers, and you both have to make products that work with either Android or iOS devices. Is Apple and Google and Amazon, are they helping you guys?
We know all three of them. They help us wherever we need help from them. So for example, one of the first things we did was for a programming platform choice or programming paradigm, we use a project called Google Blockly, which we really took, and it was an open source project. We worked closely with them to really figure out how to build something designed for the kids, because Blockly as it was then isn't. So we've stayed in close touch with them, how that has evolved. Same thing with Apple. We are on their platform. We use their APIs. We work with Swift Playgrounds as an example. And so Apple's a close collaborator in that sense. And Amazon, they created Kindle, which is probably among all of our Android devices that we support, Kindle's the best-selling Android device, or most actively used device. It's very inexpensive. Amazon's really pushed the price down on the tablets, and it works pretty well among all the Android devices at that price point. It's a best working device.
We have Amazon here who was going to talk about that pretty soon.
I know Brad.
You do?
Interesting. Interesting.
I mean, the other side of that coin is that that's also one of the biggest challenges is there's so many devices to support.
Right.
And if you just think about the screens and how you use the screen, and just the screen resolution has a huge impact on how you generate your content, build your content, has to work on so many devices and have the same experience.
Yep.
It's always a challenge.
Yeah.
Future of education.
Wow. Well, we've really come a long way since last year. And can you show us Blockly?
Yeah.
Because I have this camera, so I can actually look at your...
So this is Wonder, so I'll start with that and then I'll switch to Blockly. So this is the connection experience, the robots, it's searching for robots. It sees Dash. If I had multiple robots, they could actually have different lights in the air, so I could detect which robot I'm connecting to. And now the robot's connected, and the robot acknowledges that.
So we have kids in our library who have this free app on their phone devices when they come to the library, and they pair it. So there's one robot and maybe 30, 40 different ways to control it. And I think that's really cool. And I think that's what you're going to start seeing more of.
So I'm going to show you something really, really simple. So what you saw maybe the robot already doing was when Warren was speaking or when this little dog was speaking, the robot will turn and face that. So I'm going to program it really quickly just so that you could see how this would work. So I've dragged out a control called turn to voice. And this is a paradigm called state machines. And this is something we invented where we really want children to understand how robots make decisions, which is they're doing a certain thing, and based on the context of what they're doing and the sensor input, what they decide to do next. So what I'm going to basically say is whenever you hear a voice, now you will turn to voice, and maybe you come towards the voice a little bit, so whoever you heard. So, and you connect to that, and then you keep listening. So if I run, and the Dash heard and is, hey Dash, Dash. And you can see on the screen what the robot's doing at any point. So one of the things, and this is one of the, I would say, our core inventions and something we've patented as well, is how over Bluetooth they get real-time feedback from what the robot's thinking, so that children can follow along and really are able to debug what the robot might be doing.
I think we're having robot wars.
And then
They're facing off. Let's go right in, folks. We're going to
Get some
see.
backup.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, another one's entering. Oh, wow. All right, well, guys, we're out of time. We could clearly play the whole time, and I know this one's pink and one's blue. Thoughts
We have
on?
three. We have three different colors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we just look at what looks good, what's fun, what's trendy, and what kids like in their rooms.
I kind of like the gender-neutral consciousness of, calling it dash and dot and so on, and you can impose your own cultural values and/or that's important. Anyway, wow, so cool to have you guys both up here.
Thank you for having us.
It's really fun, and bringing your toys. And I need to bring the next panel up. Maybe could we get one question, maybe, because I know there's some. Yeah, shout it out.
I'll just. I'm just wondering, what's the business model? Is all content included in the toy price, or do you have enough purchases?
What's the business what?
What's the business model?
The business model. Is
Yeah.
all content already included in the toy price?
That's yes.
Or do you have enough purchases?
So for our products, you get the complete experience, and as the product evolves and we update the software, you get that too. So that's just included in our kind of we bake the development cost into our product cost, it's, as you can imagine, it's a constant effort with the software, as we're alluding to earlier with all the devices, but also building more content, improving the product, adding more capabilities, and then growing that is a constant effort. But we include all of that with the product when you buy in the store or online.
So for us, I think I would say we're young enough that I would say I think we're still to discover the right business model for us. So far, it's been everything's baked into the price of the hardware. So people buy the hardware, the robot, and they get all the content that we build for free. The challenge, I think, what we find with that is that I think we want to keep investing in new content on an ongoing basis. And for us to do that when the price has already been paid by customer upfront a long time ago makes it a little harder. So we investigated things like in-app purchases or other forms, but we're not sure if that's the right direction necessarily for us to go. But one of the things we do see is we've been able to invent new accessories for our robots. So there's a xylophone that you can buy that you're attached to the door program. You can program it to play the xylophone. There's a ball launcher you can bring in, and now you can actually have more of an active play experience with the robot. And it's all baked into the programming experience too. So, and we see very high attach rates with those accessories. And that allows us to have follow-on purchases that customers make from a robot, but it's still focused on something physical they buy.
Yeah, it's actually a good point. So that's one way of building the business. So that's where Jippies come in, for example. They will interact with a larger chip as well. So by having products that talk to each other, interact together, you can kind of build that continual relationship with the customer.
So the next panel, please come up. And while they come up, can we give these two a round of applause for the hard work?